You should be embarrassed. You fumbled the shield because of your own mismanagement.
I don't know if they did not understand the rule or if they didn't know the limit.
There was a calculation made, right? There always is with coaching.
For me, yes, we lost. But again, le MLS, the league, there is a clear evolution about the way we do things, the numbers of games that we have. There is addition for the Leagues Cup, there is addition for the World Cup, and so on and so on and so on. We are pleased with that. So Stas and Cole, we called them, they played 0 minutes. And we use all the 8 call-ups total for them. So what is the point? I'm not asking to ban the call-ups. I'm asking to add more call-ups. Because we have more games. Why are we going to sign a player, a young player, a professional contract for 1 game? I started my career at 18 years old, but I stopped at 22 years old. Maybe I started too fast. Maybe I earned a lot of money when I was 18 years old, but at 22 years old, I had no more money.
So yeah, that was Wilfried Nancy. I mean, he cooked.
Yeah, he cooked.
He absolutely cooked there. But let's talk about our reactions to this press conference. This is what I'm excited for because there is a lot of... let's talk about why he's mad, first of all, and just what happened with this rule. I think this is important to understand, to get the full context of everything that happened here.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible because I think it's one of those situations where people can overcomplicate things sometimes, and a lot of people are getting super in the weeds with the technicalities of the rule. And Jeremiah cooked. Jeremiah cooked hard because when Jeremiah feels like that there's an erroneous point being made and he wants to disprove it, he will go 2K words on your ass. Yeah. And that's exactly what he did on Sounder at Heart. Go read that for the breakdown of the minutia of it because I can't really explain it any better than he did.
Just even the headline, roster mismanagement led to the Crew having no backup goalkeeper.
Right,
Banger.
exactly. That's a banger. And also it goes against what a lot of the conventional wisdom in the narrative. Everyone in this situation likes to be Wilfried Nancy was speaking truth to power and sticking it to the man, and the league is screwing Columbus over and all that. And Jeremiah just systematically took apart all of those arguments. So
the national pundits were definitely carrying water for the Crew.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So, but I'm gonna keep my kind of take on this right now. As base level and simple as I possibly can. And basically,
well, you are an MLS show. We gotta,
exactly.
Yeah.
But okay, so what happened was there is this rule. It's basically a hardship rule where when you're playing over an international break and you already have an injury and guys that are absent, you can call players up from your reserve side and take that spot for 1 game and then send them back down. And the thing is, you have an allotted amount of times that you can do that in a given season. And we're going to talk about why that rule is in place, but there is a reason behind why that is a rule. And the Crew used up all of their allotted times that they could do a call-up like this. And why they did that is subject to debate. I don't know if they did not understand the rule or if they didn't know the limit, or they thought Wilfried Nancy was saying that they use call-ups for the friendly against Aston Villa. There was ways that they could have gotten around that and they didn't do it. And on top of that, even with the reality that they used up all their allotted call-ups, they could have gotten a number 2 goalkeeper on the roster for this game through multiple other means, which Jeremiah breaks down in his article. But there was a way to do this where they could have, even with the call-up thing and having used all of them up, they could have gotten the backup goalkeeper on the game day squad for this game for not a lot of money. And I don't think all that much effort, but I think what it seems to me, reading between the lines as an outsider, that what happened here was that Wilfried Nancy was really upset about the rule, and he decided that I'm just not going to call up the backup goalkeeper for this game because I'm mad about what the league is doing right now. And we're going to get through it because I'm going to tell my goalkeeper to just don't get a red card.
Yeah.
And
Also,
like,
it's
what
the
are
Sounders.
Yeah, it's the Sounders. What are the real? We're at home. What are the real odds that the goalkeeper is going to get injured? That you know, you don't see that all that often. It could happen, and if it does, we'll deal with it. But
Well,
like,
you already have the PR narrative right there too. So
exactly. Like you can fall back on it if you do lose the game, and that happens, and you can use it to soapbox for your thing about the rule.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened here.
Yeah.
But Sean Zawatsky, you know, he did what he could. He did what he could. He was competing out there, but he really, like I said, he really had no chance. But I don't know. Let's talk about like Wilfried Nancy's points of contention here, because like this could have been prevented
Easily.
This could have been easily prevented.
Easily.
Am I taking crazy pills?
No, I don't think you're taking crazy pills. I think that it's very clear that there was a calculation made, right? There always is with coaching. They were either going to spend the money to sign a free agent goalkeeper, which they could have done for no more than $10,000, or they could have rode this one out with one goalkeeper, soapbox it, and complain because the thing that they hitched their wagon to, which was this short-term loan deal, was the only thing that they really thought to do, which they already knew they were not guaranteed to get this approved or not. So it's 100% on Columbus. And I totally understand the frustration from Columbus fans as well. Like, if I'm the Columbus crew and I'm a fan and I'm sitting there, I'm like, we really lost this game because our goalkeeper was a defender. Yeah, that sucks. And you lose the best part. They're basically out of the Shield contention now.
Right.
So
yeah.
like
they were playing for like to stay in the Shield race with Inter Miami.
Yeah, so I think with all of that together, as a fan, totally understand if you're mad. If you're Wilfried Nancy, you should be embarrassed. You fumbled the Shield because of your own mismanagement and because you either wanted to make a point or because you just didn't care enough to try different options. They could have signed someone in the hours before the match, made him be available for the game day roster, sat his ass on the bench, or even started him for one game, and you're good. You're good to go. But they didn't want to do that. They went with the narrative, and then the entirety of MLS, social media, Twitter, Reddit, everything was on the Crew's side, which is incredibly dumb, and I'm sure that you'll elaborate.
I mean, they knew what the situation was, and it's your own fault. And then I think we should talk about the reason why this rule is in place, which is it's part of the CBA.
Yeah.
That was negotiated by the players union and the league. And the goal of it is to try and like protect the players from situations where the call-up rule gets abused, right? You can have situations where players are getting called up repeatedly. And I think they want to make it so there's a point where you just have to give them an MLS contract if they're getting called up on these like hardship situations.
Which
all
had
the
happened
time.
in the past.
Which, that it's a thing that did happen. And like, every team is subject to that in the exact same way. Now, Columbus, Wilfried Nancy's point of contention was that like they've had so many games this year between Champions League, which they made it to the final of, Leagues Cup, which they made to the final of and won, and to go along with their league season, they've had a ton of games, and he claims that they had to use all these call-ups to accommodate like the other games and the fixture congestion that they had. But the thing is, if you read Jeremiah's article, there's no like evidence for that at all that I can see. There was situations where they used call-ups where they really did not have to.
Yeah.
Like the Aston Villa friendly. Why would you use one there? You don't need to do that. There's other ways. Like you have to like know the rule and like employ a way to get the other goalkeeper on your squad without having to use the call-up. Also, he was saying that they had to have 3 for the Champions League games.
Which is not true.
Which is not, like, if anyone
they
can
had to be
find
3
that rule,
rostered, but the reality was that's not the case. And even the Houston Dynamo only had 2 on their 32-man roster. You had to have 3 on the 32-man roster, but the game day roster, which is what those call-ups count for, you only need to have 2.
Yeah. So I don't...
It's again, like... That's on you. That's not on the league.
No, and like, I'm not like a big rule stickler kind of guy. Like I'm all for sticking it to the man or whatever.
But it's the opposite of sticking it to the man.
But yeah, but like
you're sticking it to the player.
Yeah. But it also, it's like if you adjust these rules just for one team, then like, do you not have to? You're kind of setting a precedent that the rule is like flexible, and that other teams are going to be like, well, wait a minute, why don't we get? So that's, I mean, I think that's why they're trying to like. It might seem like they're being hard asses about it or sticking to it overly rigidly, but like I really don't think that's what it is. I think it's a situation where if you have this rule that's in place in the CBA, you're undermining the CBA that you negotiated if you start giving exceptions like that. So it's this didn't happen to any other team. This is the only team that I've ever seen this happen to, and they're not the first team to have fixture congestion with Champions League and Leagues Cup either.
Yeah, and
it didn't happen to anyone else. So, like I said, man, it's your own fault.
Well, it's just incredibly dumb too, because you are essentially making an argument that the rule where you shouldn't be able to call up a player on a $10,000 salary, playing him like he's an $80,000 minimum player. That's stupid. Like if the league minimum now is like what, 81, 82,000 a year. The league minimum in Next Pro, I think you can just go by game check. So it's like the idea that you could essentially skirt around roster rules and restrictions by just pumping your Next Pro team and then just doing these small call-ups, that's dumb. That's dumb. And these rules are in place for a reason, to protect the players so they're not getting, abused. And I thought it was even funnier because he mentioned, he's like, well, why would I sign a goalkeeper he's young. They're not ready. Then why would you bring him up to play for the first team 4 times? 4 call-ups, right? 4 different call-ups. You brought him up. What's the difference? Yeah.